Interview with Mrs. Rose Lindon.
It's difficult to remember everything, but I will try. So when we came to the ghetto, I will tell you even how I met my husband.
Okay.
Because this time when we met, 2 German got drunk and they were not allowed to come to the ghetto. They came to the ghetto and they were after a boy that used to live in our house. Mm-hmm. So they dropped into our apartment. And this time they beat up my husband so badly. He wasn't my husband this time. Mm-hmm. That he was bleeding from all over. And they were shots and everything. My mother fainted in the next house. They told her what happened, you know. And this was it. Later on, they took my mother and my father the same day. This was the day of my wedding. So wait a minute, can I stop it when I don't want? It is?
It is.
Is it working, you think?
Yes, it's working.
After a few months, we used to go to the ghetto just Sunday, you know, to take a bath. But nobody took the bath. We went home because my husband was still home and my brother-in-law. So every Sunday we went to the ghetto. Once we came out of the ghetto to Płaszów and they didn't let us go anymore to work. We were closed up and I was working very hard, carrying, you know, like heavy woods and this, and I got sick. Then they took me to the ambulatory over there, and they sent me back to the ghetto, to the hospital. I was in the hospital until one day. It was the last, wait a minute. I was in the hospital until the day that there was the liquidation of the ghetto. But before this, a few days before this was in June, when I got married. This same day they took my parents. 2 days before, they took the whole family of my husband on a Thursday. And then when I went back from Płaszów to the hospital, it was the liquidation of the ghetto. They shot a lot of people, a lot of my friends, and I was sick. I couldn't even walk, but I got dressed and we went back to Płaszów without papers, without anything. Then I stayed in Płaszów like another year. They took my husband to Auschwitz. I want to go, they beat me up, and I couldn't see, my eye was falling. And I want to go together with my husband, because 300 girls and 1,000 men they took this time. So I want to exchange with somebody, but they beat me up and I couldn't go. I didn't know anything about my husband for 2 years. I stayed another year in Płaszów, then they took me to Auschwitz. From Auschwitz, I went to Lichtenwerden. In Auschwitz, a lot of times I was segregated. I stayed naked, and my best friends went to the gas chamber. It doesn't matter. The one has got some scratches on her face. One was too fat. The other one was too thin, and this is how it went. 10 this way and 10 this way. We were segregated at least 6 times, naked. And Dr. Mengeles was the last time. Finally, 300 girls he put away. And he says the 300 will go to work. All the people that stayed in the barracks, they call them Muslims, you know, skinny like, you know, skin and bone. I met a friend that she went 3 months before me to Auschwitz. I would never recognize her in my life, never. She was all swollen and she shrunk like a midget. And she said to all of us, if you're going to stay here 3 months, you're going to look like me. But we didn't stay 3 months. I stayed only 6 weeks. I was chosen to go to work. And the 6 weeks, every night, we have to go outside. And they were counting. From the all other barracks, you know, the Muslims, they tried to go inside. And no matter where you stayed, you know, it was freezing. They tried to go, and the end, if it was 300, they counted. They took the people right away to the gas chamber, so everybody tried to stay inside. Twice, once in Płaszów, I was in the first row, and the first 10 rows, they were supposed to shot to death. So my girlfriend, I go back to Płaszów, but I will be back in Auschwitz. My girlfriend used to have 3 sisters, and she was the oldest, so she ran away from the first row. Right away they say, whoever will run away, everybody will be shot, like 200 people. So first I was shivering, you know, I was scared to death because I knew this is the end. This was in Płaszów, you know. They came and they killed a lot of people from Auschwitz, from Hungary, hundreds of people. It was a big hole, and they were taking the people, shot in the head, right away they were burning in Płaszów. So we were scared to death, and I started talking to the people behind me. This and this, I leave, you know, my fortune that I got, a bread and this, they should give to my brother, my youngest brother, and this for my husband, whatever I have over there. And I prayed only to God that if they shot me, I should drop dead right away, that they shouldn't, you know, bury me alive, like it happened a lot of times over there in Płaszów. They were killing people, you know, standing with little children. Because later, after 2 years in Płaszów, people have to take them out from the graves and burn them. It was such a stink that it was impossible to eat something, no matter how hungry you were. And they forced the people, this was like 60 people, they forced the people to drink condensed sweet milk. Can you imagine this? So this was number one. After this, they didn't shut the people. They started begging and praying, you know, and they got beat up like 100 times, naked on the table. But I was running like crazy, and they just, you know, they beat me like once or twice, and I came to the barrack back. My husband was sitting because he don't have to go. He came back from work from the city. He asked me, or they beat me up, I couldn't speak maybe an hour. I couldn't say one word, not yes or not no, nothing. This was number one, when I was sure I'm going to be dead. Then in Auschwitz, twice, we start to walk to the gas chamber, and all of a sudden they say, no, there's no more room, so we went back. And after 6 weeks, we went to Lichtenwerden. We came to Lichtenwerden. On all the beds and the closets was written in crayon a lot of names, girls from 300 girls from, sure enough you were tattooed and again segregated by Mengeles. And a lot of people that I know, my good friends, they have to kneel, you know, and hold bricks in their hands before they went to gas chambers. But finally, I found out that the next day when we left, they stopped burning the people in Auschwitz. So when we came to Lichtenwerden, and a lot of names, you know, and it says, We were here 1 year from Sosnowiec, Poland, and they came, they pick us up, we don't know where we're going. But in Auschwitz, they told us that we are going only for 1 year, because in 1 year we are going to be like that, we're going back to Auschwitz to be burned. We were working very hard in a spinning on big machines. We were spinning on very big machines. It was a factory, very large, and the 300 girls we were spinning over there, and 300 Polish people also. They were working in different places in this factory. Sure enough, the Polish people, they tried to scare us to death more than we were already. They, instead to tell us something good, they always used to say they're going to tattoo. No. You know, the Star of David. They're going to tattoo on our foreheads. They're not going to let us leave. Things like this. And we used to have a crazy guy that took care of us. He has got one glass eye, and we didn't know his name. Only everybody called him Schnauze. He was an assessman, and he always used to beat us over our heads because we didn't want to eat the soup from blood, you know, because it was old and it stunk. Anyhow, we were over there 9 months. After 9 months, they called us, and we were sure that the Russians are not far away from there. So they called us, and they count everybody, and they say that we are free to go home. We were all painted, you know, like blue and yellow, all the clothing and big shoes, the Hollander shoes, you know, with the wooden shoes. And we looked terrible, without a penny, without anything, and go home. This was like Czechoslovakia, Sudetenland. So we make up our mind, we're not going to move until it's really somebody's going to liberate us. And we stayed another night in the camp. It was light from the reflectors all night. We were standing dressed up, and we saw the Russian coming, and the German ran away, you know. But all of a sudden, you know, during the night, we heard the voices, German voices. They say, we're not going to let them leave, we're going to burn them down. So everybody started crying. Why didn't we go out when they say that we can go? But we didn't know where to go. Finally, in the morning, the Russian came, and they gave us like a little cow, you know, cook it and eat. So they cooked, and right away people say don't eat too much because you're going to get sick. And one Russian guy, he came and he gave me a full suitcase with German money. And I mean, he's stupid, he's crazy. They lost the war, and he gives me German money, it's not worth nothing. So I gave it away to a German, and I picked up an old coat with holes, and I grabbed some, you know, old skirt, things like this. And this I was carrying the first night, you know, the Russian they want to come in, and they say, we liberate you, and you know what? They were hungry for girls, and we were scared to death, so 2 girls went to the commander, and this happened to be a very nice Jewish Russian, and he says he's going to give us guards, you know, for the night, but the next day we have to leave, and this is how it was. He gave us guards, and we left. We started walking 300 miles from over there was another camp where were 300 Hungarian Jewish women. We stopped over there to relax, and 2 girls went out just for a walk. They came back, they say, we met 2 Russians, they asked us, we want to go. We say to Poland, to Krakow, we're going to take you. They raped them both, and they took a boat, and they took away everything that they got. And then we walked 14 days by night we used to sleep like in a broken house or something because we were so scared of the Russian again, you know. During the day they want to, where you go, we will take you, but we were so scared, we didn't want to go with nobody, and we were walking, and by Rybniki, this is far away from Krakow, this train was there, so after 14 days we went by train. We came to Krakow, we were scared again because we came at night, so we were sleeping like in a waiting room on the floor. And then they told us that we have some, you know, that we have to register. On one street, the Jewish people who come back from the camps, they should go over there and register. I came over there, they told me my husband was looking for me, and we make out before we went to the camps that whoever will be alive, he's from Germany, from Leipzig, and one woman that was married to a Jew, but they killed him. She used to live in Krakow. She don't have to go to ghetto because she is German. She lives now in Canada with her daughter. They killed her son. He used to work with my husband, and because the Polish people say that first he was wearing the band, the Jewish band, and later he took it off because they say if his mother is German, he can say or he wants to belong to the mother. So I met my husband, and right away the Polish people made a pogrom. After the war, the people who used to be alive, you know, they killed one woman, Polish people. They killed one woman after the war. So we say we are going, and we left after 1 year. We went to Austria, to a camp Ebense. We were supposed to go to Israel. But on the way, you know, from over there, somebody told us we have 2 cousins in Germany, in Bayern. So we got in touch with the cousins, and we went to Bayern. Then we stayed also in a camp. I was pregnant the first month. I have got nothing to eat. And this was like another camp. So we stayed over there maybe 2 months. My cousin came, she picked us up, and she gave my husband work and apartment. And I stayed 3 years in Germany. After this, you know, people came from the United States and interviews, this and this, or we want to come, sure enough. And we came to the United States. But this is never, even not one thing, you know.
Questionnaire number 1 on Krakow Ghetto. Where were you when the Germans came?
In Krakow.
Did you move from one place to another?
From our apartment right to the ghetto, and I was in one apartment with my parents and with my sisters, and then I got married in 1942. The same day they took my parents to destroy them, and I moved in with my husband where he used to live, on another street.
What kind of life did you have before you were in the ghetto?
I have got a very good life.
What did you live on?
My father supported me.
Yeah, but what was he doing?
He used to have a business, leather.
Leather. Were there any contacts with non-German, non-Jews before?
We used to have friends, but...
Were you in touch with people abroad?
Just my uncle in London.
Were there any persecutions and pogroms in your town before the Nazis?
Not persecutions, but they didn't allow to buy in Jewish stores, things like this.
They didn't allow Christians to buy in Jewish stores?
That's right.
Or they didn't allow Jews to buy in Christian stores?
No. Christian and Jewish stores. They were boycotting the Jewish stores.
How did you react to the news that the ghetto would be set up?
We prayed that they put us into the ghetto because not everybody was lucky enough to go into the ghetto. Only a certain amount of people were supposed to go into the ghetto, and the rest has to go out. Like my brother, he wasn't old enough, so he used to live outside the ghetto, and I got up every morning about 4 o'clock to bring him food.
And how did the other people, your neighbors, react to the idea that the ghetto would be set up?
Everybody was scared.
When exactly was the ghetto set up?
I guess it was the end of 39.
41.
No, not 41.
41 in March.
40. I don't remember the dates. I am very bad.
Was there a Judenrat in your town?
Yes.
Do you know the names of the people who were in the Judenrat?
I don't remember.
Do you know what kind of people they were, whether they were lawyers or, businessmen or what?
I can't recall this.
Were they picked by the Germans or were they picked by the Jews?
The Germans.
I can't tell you this.
What did the Judenrat do in the ghetto?
This I can't recall.
Did it do anything?
I know before we went to the ghetto, the German used to go with a big truck and catch the Jews, to work, to scrub the floors and things like this. And
did the Judenrat set up any schools? No. What did you think of the Judenrat then?
Był Judenrat w Krakowie.
To przecież był ten Zygmunt Kurz, był Spira, był...
Wait a minute, this wasn't...
So we'll try again.
I don't know, this was Judenrat. He was the chef of the police, the Jewish police,
Who was?
Spira.
And you don't know...
They killed him later.
You don't know who the chef of the chief of the Judenrat was?
He was like the boss of everybody.
You don't know his name?
Spira.
But that's the only one you remember?
And Kurz, and a lot of Ordnungsdienst, like Jewish policemen.
And we are coming to them. Were the Judenrat, were they picked by the Germans or by the Jews?
By the Germans.
And what did they do? Do you know? Did they set up schools? Did they help anybody?
No,
did they...
No.
Nothing? What did you think of the Judenrat at that time?
I was thinking that not even one was an honest man, and they didn't deserve to be Jews.
And what did the other people in the town think of the Judenrat, of the men in the Judenrat?
Everybody was scared.
Do you have a different opinion now, or is your opinion the same of the Judenrat?
My opinion is not the same, because some of them were nice people, some.
Was there a second and a third Judenrat in the ghetto? In other words, did it change?
I can't tell you, no.
You don't know?
No.
In what manner was there forced labor in the ghetto? Did people have to work?
The people have to work, but not in the ghetto, outside the ghetto. From the ghetto we were forced to go out and work. Like on the streets, clean the streets. And
did you do this?
Yes.
Where?
In Krakow.
Outside the ghetto, but in Krakow?
Yes.
How often?
Almost every day.
What were the conditions like?
The condition, it was freezing, and we have to shovel the snow and things like this.
Did you get paid?
I don't remember, no.
Did you get food?
No, nothing.
Did everyone do forced labor, or did they pick...
The young people, usually young people.
Was there any favoritism? In other words, could you bribe somebody so not to do it?
I didn't bribe, no. You could do something, if you couldn't go. You can pay somebody else, and somebody else could go and do the work for you. But I mean, also our people.
What was the organization of the Jewish police, the Ordnungsdienst? What did they do?
They were supposed to pick up people. The German gave a list,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to go and pick up the people.
How many of them were there?
Maybe my friend will remember. I don't remember exactly.
Do you know who they were? Like what kind of people they were?
They were very nice people before the war. Even one was studying law,
mm-hmm.
and he was a son of a gun later. And religious people. This guy, this Spira, that used to be the boss over there, the
Was a
chief of the
religious
police.
man?
He used to be a very religious man.
Do you know who the commander of the Jewish police was?
This was the Spira that I told you,
Do you know where he came from?
from Krakow.
Did the Judenrat control the police, or did the police control the Judenrat?
This was no police, it was like Ordnungsdienst, and they belonged to them.
But who was more important, the Judenrat or the Ordnungs? Who gave orders to whom?
The Judenrat, I guess, I'm not sure. This I am not telling you because I'm not sure. Maybe my friend will remember better.
What was the behavior of the Jewish police? How did they act?
I can tell you only one incident, because I used to live with a lot of people in the same apartment. After I was married, my girlfriend was married at the same time to a German Jew. And one Ordnungsdienst that used to know her, he came and he says to her, you know, he told her her maiden name, and he says, I don't know you after you are married. And she was on the list. And he just warned her, you know, that he don't know her, and she ran away.
What did the other people think of the Ordnungsdienst?
They didn't think too good.
What did you live on in the ghetto?
I sold a lot of things that we used to have. I exchanged with Polish people. They grabbed a lot of things. They didn't give me nothing, you know. One man took our piano. The other man, you know, came and he took a beautiful picture, hand-painted, and he says he's going to give me bread every day when I will go to work. I came 3 times. After the 3rd time, he closed the door and goodbye.
Were there food rations in the ghetto?
It was no rations, but you couldn't afford to get it.
Was there a house committee in the ghetto?
Not that I know of.
Was there any social organization that operated in the ghetto independent of the Judenrat?
I really don't know.
Was there any typhoid or epidemics in the ghetto?
There was a lot of sick people, but not typhoid.
Was anything done to help the sick people? Nothing?
There was one hospital, that's all.
Who ran the hospital?
Jewish doctors.
Was there any education in the ghetto? Could children go to school?
No.
Not even illegal schools?
No.
There weren't any. Was there any religious life?
Yes.
There were shuls?
There were shuls, because my father used to go every morning.
Do you know how many?
And this rabbi, where he used to go, he was Rabbi Shapiro, and he was very famous because he used to have one hand from leather, you know, he hasn't got one hand. And after the war, it happened like this. When I was in camp, it's still going. We came to Germany. I told you I was pregnant the first month. And we have to stay, you know, this was like on an airport, American airport. And we have to stay in the line for some food they didn't want to eat. So I was very hungry, and all of a sudden I see a big crowd running after a very high, he was a captain, American captain. I say, who is this that everybody's running? He used to be from Krakow, and his father was a rabbi, and his name is Shapiro. So I ran myself, and I told him that his father married me. So right away he asked me maybe he can do something for me. He wants to give me money, and I told him about his family, but I told him I don't need any money, only send out a letter to me, for me, to my cousins, because we couldn't get out over there. Even it was after the war, but we were closed up. So he sent a letter to my cousin came, and then he helped us. He told us to go to a hotel for one night, and they didn't charge us anything. He says he's a relative of ours, and I guess that I met him in New York. I used to live in Manhattan. All of a sudden, my son was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and I walk with him. I see this rabbi only without a uniform. And I say, if this is Rabbi Shapiro, he will turn his head. Sure enough, he turned, and he came to my house. He says he's not a rabbi anymore. He was in the Jewish Theological Seminar, 122nd Street. Over there I met him. And that he's writing a book about ancient Hebrew, something grammatical or something, grammar. And he went back to Germany to lecture. I didn't see him again.
And in the ghetto, did many people go to shul?
I guess yes.
Were there
The older people, you know.
Was there a Beis HaMidrash?
Yes.
Were they legal or underground?
It wasn't underground, but they were scared.
Was there
Because
any...
this day when I was supposed to get married, my father went to the shul and he came back right away because everybody has to register this same day. And the rabbi too. So they'd never let go my father from over there. And in the afternoon, I was supposed to be married, so my neighbor came and he says to my mother, let's go to the rabbi and let her get married. I came, the rabbi was still not there, we were waiting, and a few strangers from the street. It has to be a minyan, 10 people. So finally the rabbi came and this neighbor told him something, I didn't know what, and the rabbi say, let's make the hippah and your father will come, he will say Mazel Tov. But he never came back. Right after this, he told me, go and do whatever you can. But they say he's over 50 years, I couldn't do anything. So this same night, my mother packed the things because they were big signs. My father took my mother's papers because she belongs together, and whoever hasn't got the paper has to go also. So and we didn't know this was the first transport, you know, we didn't know where they're going. They say they're going to Ukrainian to work. So we packed the things, and my mother say how long she will be together. With my father, everything will be okay, she's not afraid of work, things like this. So I went with her in the morning, and one man used to be a Ornudins. He used to live, he is now in Israel. He used to live in the same house, and he went with the people. He brought me back a letter, and they knew right away where they're going.
Were there any child care institutions in the ghetto to take care of children?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Were there any contacts with non-German, non-Jews?
With non-German?
Non-Jews.
Sure, because people used to go out from the ghetto.
And
People used to work.
The people that they met, they were friendly or not friendly?
Some of them were very friendly, but some of them were not. They used
Do you
to
remember
show
any stories?
stories. I can tell you a story about my nephew. I took him out 3 times from the ghetto. My sister used to be in Warsaw ghetto. Over there was one of the worst. And they ran away from over there, which was very, very seldom. They came to Płaszów, to the ghetto in Krakow. And the day that they used to send out all the children, they say they're going to take the children. So 3 times I took the boy, and he was walking after me, you know, and he behaved like a stranger. He was 8 years old. So 3 times I saved him. I went to my mother's friend that she was on the other side, a Jewish woman, but she make believe she's not Jewish. And the 4th time, they say they're going to take old people. So my sister didn't want to give him that I can take care of him. And we used to have in the kitchen a big closet, you know, for food. So she went with the boy into the closet, and my girlfriend's mother, 3 people, they went to the closet, and we put another closet over this, a big one, and we have to go to work. So her husband, my girlfriend's husband, heard that they're going to look all over in all apartments, and wherever they're going to find somebody, they're going to kill them. So he went back to the kitchen, and he opened the door, and he says, you better get out because they're going to kill you. So my brother-in-law saw my sister with the boy, and he said they took them away. they want to take only the boy because my sister was young. So she says she's not going to let the baby go. She goes together. So my brother-in-law said he's going with his wife. And they beat him up. They say, no, you have to go to work. And he survived. He's dead now. He died in Israel. And this is the story.
Did you meet any Germans while you were in the ghetto?
When I was in the hospital in the ghetto, back from Płaszów,
Yeah.
I left all my papers up in Płaszów in the concentration camp. And my husband used to work with a lot of people and two girls, these were Rabbi's daughters, Rabbi Lipschitz daughters, beautiful blonde girls with blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, let's go, and I should stay together with him, you know. I didn't work with him. But I was scared without the papers. They were looking, you know, when we go out to Płaszów back. So first I went to one German, Strojewski, and we have to stay three steps in front of them. And I say, I haven't got my papers. I was supposed to be released from the hospital. And he says, go back to the hospital, nothing will happen. But later I found out that they killed all the people in the hospital, all the people. And this girl, Rabbi Lipsch's daughter, she took her papers and she gave it to me. She said she's not afraid because she works over there and she's not afraid. After the war, 5 days after the war, these two girls they used to be in Germany, in Leipzig, and they went to an empty house with 5 girlfriends because the German left. So the Russian came in and they want to rape them. They start screaming. They killed all 5 girls after the war and they raped them.
When did you come to realize that the intent of the German was to kill all the Jews?
After they took my parents. Because somebody, one Ukrainian, he went with this transport and he came back. He says that they went to Bełżec and they put everybody in gas chambers over there.
Can you remember and describe the actions in the ghetto when they took the people away? Do you remember the dates, the details?
Shouldn't go out. We shouldn't go out. You know, this was on Thursday. The dates I have to remember because this was the day of my wedding. Was also, and 3 days before they took. I was married this 7th of June, and 3 days before it was another one. They took the parents and my husband's nephew. And sister.
You never escaped to the Aryan side?
I didn't want to. I could go. I could go because I didn't look Jewish whatsoever. No. And people want to hide me, but I didn't want to go. I say, if it has to happen something, if it has to happen, it will happen anyhow. If not, I do whatever everybody's doing.
Was there an underworld in the ghetto?
Yes.
Who were they?
Liebeskind and Guścia Davidson. It was a group of people. I don't remember exactly the names. These 2 names I remember.
How did they operate?
They killed one German.
Did they do anything else?
They bombed something, a cafe in Krakow, not in the ghetto.
Where Germans used to come?
Yes.
Did any of these people survive from the underworld?
I guess so, but those 2 are not alive anymore.
Do you remember any songs, poems, jokes, or special prayers?
My songs are not to be repeated because they were very terrible songs that we used to have in Płaszów.
No, that evolved during the ghetto. In other words, when you were in the ghetto, did you make up any songs or any poems?
I didn't make up, no. But different people make up a lot of songs and poems.
Do you remember them?
These are not to be repeated, I'm telling you, because these were terrible words.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Were there any youth movements or party organizations in the ghetto?
It was the organization, but they were like underground, Akiba or something.
Did you belong to any of them?
No.
Did refugees come to you from another town to your
From
ghetto?
a lot of towns.
And
From
what-
a lot of towns.
From where, do you remember?
Jeliczka, Płaszu, Foszowice, Krzeszowice, from a lot of towns.
And how did the people in the ghetto react to the refugees coming?
They have to take them in. They used to live a lot of people in one apartment.
Was there a resistance movement in the ghetto?
These people that I told you.
But you were not part of it?
No.
Questionnaire number 2 for Plaszow. What was the date of your arrival in the camp?
In Plaszow, this was the beginning of 43.
And
January, I guess.
what method of transportation did you use to get there?
I walked.
From Krakow?
From ghetto. This was
From
like a
ghetto
suburb,
Krakow.
like a suburb of Krakow. Yeah.
Did you come alone or with members of your family?
I came alone.
What happened to the other members of the family?
My husband and my brother-in-law were still in the ghetto.
Was there
And my sister was taken, and this was the rest of my family.
Was there a selection when you came to Plaszow?
No.
Describe the location and the size of the camp.
It was a big camp, but it wasn't built yet. It was just a few barracks, because they started building when I came.
What was the guard system?
Jewish Ordnungsdienst.
Was guarding Plaszow? There were no
They were German at the door.
only. Any other
In the
nationality guards? Do you know?
Later, they used to have Ukrainians.
Do you know who the commander of the camp was?
Sure.
What
Of the
w-
Plaszow,
Yeah.
Amon Get. They
And
hanged him later. in
do you
Krakow.
remember the names of any of the officers or the men? that were in charge?
Strojewski, von Maluczki.
What were they like? Were they nasty? Were they?
They used to kill people on the spot. We used to work like night times, 6 weeks nighttime and 6 weeks daytime. So when we used to work nighttime, during the day they didn't let us sleep. We have to break stones, you know, because this was a camp on the cemetery, on a Jewish cemetery. So they broke, the men have to take off the stones and make them smaller stones, and the girls we used to make from the smaller stones,
Pebbles.
yes, small pieces, and they make the road from.
And how many Germans guarded the camp? Only the one who was at the front?
No, this was more than one.
How many?
This I can recall, maybe 4.
How many Ukrainians?
Later on, I know it was a lot of Ukrainians, because this time when they were supposed to kill us, because we didn't finish on time, they were supposed to kill the first 10 roads. There was a lot of Ukrainians, because I was standing just in front of them, maybe 60 or 80.
Were the Germans SS or did they belong to some other unit?
Most of them SS and Wehrmacht too, but very seldom.
Do you remember any incidents that could be used to accuse war criminals?
They hanged, this Amon Get was hanged after the war.
And what about any of the others?
I don't know the destiny of them. I know about Mengeles that they didn't catch him.
No, do you know anything that could be used against them to accuse them? What were the ages of the inmates?
All kind of ages, but not many children, because they took the children. One day they say they're going to feed the children better food, things like this. They took away the children. It was maybe all together, maybe 20, 30 children, I guess.
Were there men and women?
Yes.
Were there any non-Jews?
One girl was not Jewish. They took her from the street because she was looking Jewish. And they were supposed to release her, but we found out they killed her.
What towns did the prisoners come from?
From all kinds of towns. And later on in Płaszów, they came from Hungary. From Auschwitz, they sent to Płaszów a group of Hungarian people, all shaved heads, you know.
What kind of work did you do in Płaszów?
First, I was working with straw. I was making shoes and handmade like packets, things like this. Later, I was working. I was repairing shirts and underwear.
What were the capos good or bad?
Some of them were good, but not all of them.
What kind of food was there?
If you were lucky, you got a good soup and not enough to eat.
Bread?
No.
No bread at all?
They used to give us, what you call it? Everyday tapioca, 1 year. Everyday tapioca without salt and without sugar. Everyday tapioca.
And describe the daily routine in the camp.
The daily routine, we got up in the morning very early. We got black coffee, like water, and a small piece of bread. Then we went to work. They took us to work, you know.
There was no appel?
Appel, sure,
Yeah.
I forgot already. Appel, they counted people, and then they took us, you know, with the machine guns to work. It wasn't far away, everything wasn't the same, but the men were separate and girls separate.
And then?
We were working about 10 hours. And then we went back to the barrack. We can see the men, I mean the family, 2 hours every day. We could see them.
And then you went to sleep?
To sleep if we were not working at night.
Yeah.
We used to work at night too.
Were people killed?
Oh, wait a minute. We used to have guards. Because I remember, you know, the reflectors.
Yeah.
They used to be like small boots, you know.
Yeah. And did they kill people?
Amon Get killed people. And I guess von Maluczki.
How were the people killed? They were shot?
2 girls, the first victims in Płaszów were 2 girls that used to work with me on Lufgau Commando.
And
the
how
name
were they
was
killed?
Salz and I remember the name, something with a W. They were hanged because they ran away from Płaszów to the ghetto, and somebody says that they are in the ghetto. This was the time when I was in the hospital back from Płaszów in the ghetto.
And what date
And
about
they
is
hanged
this?
them, and one girl fell down from the, how you call it? And the hangman has to pick her up, put her back, you know, and they shot her.
And when did this happen?
This happened right in the beginning.
And this was by the Germans?
In Płaszów.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
But it was Germans who did it?
No.
It was Ukrainians? Who was it?
Jewish people.
It was Jews?
They were forced to do it.
Were there any attempts to escape?
Later on, I don't remember the date, they took like maybe 200 people to, they used to have a salt mine not far from Krakow in Wieliczka, and they used to work over there, and later when they knew the Russians are coming, they took back the people, and 7 boys, I guess it was 7 of them, or 5, I don't remember exactly. They tried to hide, to run away, but nobody wants to take them. So they came back to Płaszów, and they hanged all of them. We have to look. Everybody has to look how they were hanged. And one has got the tongue out, the other one the tongue here. At this time, until today, I can look at the tongue. When I came to a party and they put a tongue on the table, I ran away.
Was there an organized underground?
They say so.
But you don't know anything about it?
No, I know that they killed one German, this Liebeskind, and these people from...
Was there any contacts with the outside?
Yes.
Did the underground make contacts with the outside?
I can't tell you about the underground.
You don't know anything about planned resistance?
I know it was.
But you don't know anything about it. Were there any attempts at cultural activity?
Not that I know of. I was too busy working and too tired.
Were there any children in the camp?
In Płaszów?
Yeah.
I told you. That was... Children were only from the people that have got high positions, like a good tailor or a good bootmaker or something like this. It was maybe 30 children in the whole in Płaszów. And then they took all the children and they sent them to be killed. And the music was playing beautiful on the upper Platz, you know, and they took all the children.
What were the relations between the Jewish inmates? Were there antagonisms between groups from the same town, between groups from different towns, between Polish and other Jews?
Not that I know of.
So the relations were good or were bad?
I think it was good.
There were no non-Jews except that one woman?
In my place where I used to work.
Did any of the fellow inmates ever help you?
Yes.
Do you want to tell me a story?
This was a relative of mine, and he used to go out so he can buy bread. So he helped me with the bread.
Were you ever sick?
You were afraid to be sick, you understand? Because my brother, this was the only brother, he was sent from Płaszów to Milk because they took my uncle. And my uncle said to him, this is as transport to Austria, and Austria is not so bad, so you better come with me. I will take care of you. So my brother went with him, but they both died, you know. And
was there any kind of medical attention in the camp?
And my brother, they told me later, one boy from the same house, he's in Israel now, that he just, you know, scratched that he got an infection. And he didn't want to go, but he got an infection and he has to go. So after one day in the hospital in Milk, they gave me an injection, and this how I went over there after the war a few years ago to see this. But you wouldn't believe it. Everything is covered with grass. You don't even see where it was. I have a picture from over there.
Oh, I know. I went to visit Auschwitz. Everything.
Not Auschwitz.
Auschwitz.
I went to Auschwitz.
It's covered with grass
and
flowers.
Anything. Only one woman with a big key, you know. They told me one woman that cleans up once a year over there, she has the key. And I emptied the bus. I paid the bus driver to bring me to the woman. I didn't tell her I'm Jewish. And she took me over to this camp in Milk. She opened the door, she explained to me a lot of dried flowers, you know, and a lot of pictures, but not Jewish people. You didn't see pictures. And she showed me one room where they made experiments. So the blood was still showing from under white paint. And only a table made out of stone, you know, and that the head is here and the blood was running to the canal right away. She explained to me everything.
Was there any medical attention in Płaszów?
Yes.
Were there any?
Yes.
Was it official or clandestine?
Official.
Official by the Germans or by the Jews?
They were Jewish doctors. One is still here.
Oh.
He lives in Staten Island.
What's his name?
Ludwig Gross.
What kind of clothing did you wear?
In Płaszów, I used to wear my own clothing, but in Auschwitz, they took away everything.
What kind of
And my clothing that I got in Auschwitz was big wooden.
What kind of sanitary conditions were there in Plaszow?
In Auschwitz, we are now in Auschwitz.
No, we are back to Plaszow.
Back to Plaszow, okay. In Plaszow, there was, you can't call it a toilet, we called it latrine.
Yeah.
With big holes, everybody together. And if you want to hear some news, you went over there. But they didn't allow us to go one person. You can drop dead. And they didn't allow you to go. 5 people have to go together.
And was there water to wash?
So once, I will tell you a nice story.
Was there water in the camp?
It was water, but freezing water, and it wasn't running, not always. And we have to stay naked, it was like in a Turkish bath, The dampness was coming out of us, but the water was freezing.
And did anybody receive mail?
Nobody. Not
packages?
The Jew, no.
Did you hope you would survive?
I hoped, but I didn't believe it.
Did you think then that if the world knew, it would do anything to prevent the Germans from killing the Jews?
I didn't believe anything, because they say that if it's going to be a war, it's going to be very short, because everybody will help America, England, and different countries, but the war was going on, and nothing happened.
At that time, were you bitter about the Jews in the free world?
No.
Did you?
A lot of Polish people, now I remember, they came back from Auschwitz. And one Polish man, he was talking to me very nice, and he says, don't think about what it used to be, only live with this hour. Then you're going to survive, maybe.
Did you think then that the Jews in the free world knew what the Nazis were doing?
I didn't know that somebody knows about this, because this was everything closed, and we were sure that nobody knows what's going on.
Were you religious before you came to camp?
My parents were religious, and we used to have a kosher home. I still keep everything like it used to be in my house, but I am not, very Orthodox.
Did it change as a result of the camp?
No, in the contrary. I believe now more than I used to believe, because my father used to say the story every day about Passover, what happened with the children and this, and we were just listening like a story. But now I believe everything, because I went through worse things that my father used to say, what happened in Egypt and things like this.
Did you or anyone else that you knew in the camp try to keep religious observances in the camp? Like prayers or food?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yes.
Did the inmates talk about their families?
Yes.
Did they hope they would be reunited?
No, we knew. This time we knew.
This is in Plaszow.
From Plaszow, when they took the people from Plaszow to different camps.
Then you know.
We didn't know. We didn't know what happened, because they say they're going to work to different camps. But from the ghetto, we knew that they are dead.
Did anyone have any sexual urges? Was anyone thinking about these things?
More than you think. And you wouldn't believe, the nicest people from very high society. They were not ashamed. Absolutely no.
Did people in the camp try to contact members of their families elsewhere in the camp?
In the camp? We were together in the camp.
If you participated in an evacuation march or transport, please tell the details of your experience, including the exact routes, the name of the German guards, the attitude of the local population.
When we were sent from Plaszow to Auschwitz, the first time they were supposed to take almost everybody, but it wasn't room enough. So I went back, 300 people. I overheard some Ordnungsdienst says to his wife, go 1 step forwards and 10 steps back. Maybe it's not going to be room enough. So we were doing the same. We went 1 step forwards and 10 steps back. And sure enough, 300 people went back to barracks, but they stole everything. I haven't got nothing when I came back.
Do you remember
and we stayed another 3 months before they sent us. It was another transport.
Do you remember the names of the German guards?
No.
Did you meet any people from the local populations as you were going?
I went together with my friends.
No, not people from the camp, but people, townspeople.
Oh, towns, you mean Polish people?
Yeah.
On the way?
Yeah.
Not when we used to go to work from Plaszow. Then we
No, but from Plaszow to when you went from Plaszow to Auschwitz.
No, they put us in closed like for animals.
Closed wagons.
Closed wagons.
Did they give you any food?
No.
No.
It was like on a sidewalk, and it was a very nice camp. Small rooms, 30 people in one room, and very nice everything. It was looking beautiful, but the same. We haven't got any food, you know. They gave us like once a day a small bread for 30 people, and we have to measure with a thread that nobody will get one crumb.
What kind of a guard system was there?
Also 4 towers. 4 towers, but this was the Wehrmacht, not the assessment. It was the Lagerführer was assessment.
When was the camp set up?
The camp was set up before us because the people were.
But you don't know when.
No, no.
And what was the name of the commander?
We all called him Schnauzer. Nobody knows his real name.
Do you know the names of any of the officers or the men that were in charge?
No, only 4 German girls. One name was Louise. She was a very good one. And
what was she, a Blockeltester or
no.
Capo or what?
No. They were Aufseherki.
Aufseherin, yeah.
Aufseherin.
And were the other ones nice or nasty?
No, the other one was very nasty, Maria. She was arrested after the war.
How many Germans guarded the camp?
Like 4, and the 4 Aufseher and Schnauzer.
And were there any non-Germans?
Not in this camp. Only the Jewish people, 300 girls.
Do you remember any incidents that could be used to accuse individual Nazis as war criminals?
He was a war criminal, I'm sure. Schnauzer.
But do you remember any stories about him that could be used to testify against him?
He used to beat us up, and he says he's not going to let us alive out from over there. He's going to kill all of us.
How many inmates were there in the camp?
300.
What were their ages?
Between 19 to 25, 27 maybe.
Were they all male or female?
All male.
All
female. All female.
Were they Jews or non-Jews?
All Jews.
Do you know where they came from?
Most of them from Krakow.
What kind of work did you do?
We used to work in the spinnery.
Did you have capos?
No.
No. What kind of...
It was one Jewish girl, but she was very nice.
What kind of food?
And she was pregnant, incidentally. And she
had the baby?
She has the baby 2 days after liberation.
She was lucky. What kind of food?
No food whatsoever, like one small bread, a round bread for 30 people. Every night we have to take a thread and measure these small pieces.
There was soup?
Soup like water and...
Coffee like water?
Yes, that's so.
And would describe the daily routine.
Right in the morning we got the coffee, and whoever could survive the night and not to eat, because I ate at night a piece of bread. And then I got only coffee, and then when we came back from... Yes, every day was a rappel.
And then you went to work in the factory?
Yes.
And then you came back?
We came back from the factory.
There was
we got
another rappel?
The soup, appel always, twice a day.
And then you went to sleep?
Yes.
Were people killed?
No, not in this camp.
Were there any attempts to escape?
No.
Was there an organized underground?
No.
Were there any attempts at cultural activity?
No.
Were there any children in the camp?
No.
How did the inmates in the camp get along with each other?
Almost all of them very well, but nobody liked the Stubenälteste, you know, because she has to tell us, scrub the floor, do this, and we haven't got the strength to do it.
Did you ever receive help from a fellow inmate?
No.
No. Were you ever ill?
Just a cold, and you know, everybody
Dysentery.
has got dysentery, and we have to run every minute.
Oh, yeah, that's
because from the cold.
Was there any medical attention?
Yes, one woman, the one that I told you, that was from the twin.
Yeah.
And the other twin was all the time sick in the hospital. And when Mengeles came to this camp, he recognized her and he asked her, "Where is your sister?" Can you imagine, after segregating thousands of people?
And were there Jewish doctors or German doctors?
This was a woman.
She was Jewish?
Yes.
She was the only doctor?
Yes.
What kind of clothing did you wear?
I got an old coat from Auschwitz, but all the clothes have to be painted blue and yellow.
What kind
and a big number.
Mm-hmm. On the jacket?
Yes.
What kind of sanitary conditions were there?
It was water, but not enough water, and no soap whatsoever. We got one small soap for maybe 10 people. You can only wash your face with the soap once, that's all.
Was there a bathroom, latrine or something?
Latrines, yes.
Did you ever receive mail?
No.
Did you ever receive packages?
No. We were not allowed, and nobody knew where we are.
Did you hope you would survive?
I hoped, but I didn't believe.
Did the inmates in this camp talk about their families?
Yes, sure.
Did they think they would be reunited?
Very seldom that they talk about this.
Did they express any sexual desires?
They can't express because we were only females.
Did they try to contact members of their families elsewhere in the camp?
We didn't know about each other. Nobody knew.
If you participated in an evacuation march or transport, please detail your experiences, including the route, the name of the German guards, the attitude of the local population, the food.
No, we were walking back from Lichtenberg, and we were walking 14 days.
To where?
To Poland.
And were you walking with guards guarding over you?
No guards, no.
Just
nobody.
walking?
Just, a few girls together.